All right, we're going to solve triangles using the law of cosine. And so again, on this video, we just did the law of sine. Now we're going to do the law of cosine. It's real simple. We're going to stay away from complex examples and some of the more complicated aspects of this. This is just a video on how to get it done, just to start out with. But what I have here is a triangle ABC has an angle of A of 120. One of the sides B is 9, and the other side C is 5. And so, again, I'll show you how to graph or to draw this triangle, and that's the first step. Most of the time, the triangle will already be drawn for you, but gives you just a little bit more of an advanced view, give you a little more things going on. So A, this looks like a 120-degree angle. This is B. So little b would be 9 because you always go across from your angle for your side. And here's C, so little c is 5. The reason, now law of sine, we're looking for angles and sides across from it. Whoops, wrong one. With law of cosine, we're always looking for this side angle side. So notice we've got side, angle, and side. And you don't have to have a right triangle to make this work. Any triangle, as long as you have side, angle, side, you can use law of cosine. Now, I give this in 3 formulas, but you don't need 3 formulas because you just need that side, angle, side pattern. But when kids are just learning this, I think it's a good idea just to have them all. So here's your law of cosine. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of your angle A. And you can rearrange it, so that's the side angle side we've got right now. This would be angle A. We're going to solve for that side length. Now, to get the rest of them, you know, if your angle was B, then we'd need C and A for side angle side. So B squared would equal A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of B. And if you have C now, again, here's my angle, so this would be side, angle, side. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2 times AB cosine of C. And this is typically the one you see when you Google it or whatever. That's the first one that comes up. But anyway, so to get started with, it's best to probably have all 3 written down because maybe you can't see the side angle side, things like that. But eventually, after you do a few of these, you'll get the hang of it, and you won't need all these formulas. You'll just need the one. So what we do then is just plug in the values that we needed. And if you need to go back and look, go ahead and go back in the video. But we're looking for little a, so we're going to just leave that a equals b squared. Well, b squared is I think it was 5. I might have the b or the c switched around. Doesn't matter. They can go in any order. Go CB or BC, minus, because of commutative property, minus 2 times 5 times 9 times the angle that's in the middle of them, which was 120. And so if you, at this point, you know, if you're plugging this into a Khan Academy, I would just plug this thing in to a calculator just as it is. And so so I'll bring up Desmos. This is, again, a really nice calculator to use for online stuff. And so I'm going to go 5 squared, whoops, not times. We need plus. Nope, I keep hitting times. Squared plus 9 squared minus 2. Now we can do the times. Times 5 times 9. Cosine of 120 degrees It's always good on your online calculators. Make sure you're in degrees, not radians. That's why I like Desmos. It defaults to degrees. Gives you 151. So we know a squared equals 151. Well, just like Pythagorean theorem or solving for a squared term, so then we would square root both sides. And so a is the square root of 151, and we're only concerned with the positive. And so if you're going into a Khan Academy or you have to enter that thing, make sure you save all of your rounding to the very end, and there you have it. So your answer here is 12.28 or 12.29. Now to find the rest of them, so approximately 12.29. Now to find the rest of the sides, so let's go back to my image, because sometimes you have to find, maybe you didn't need to find A, maybe you needed to find this angle here. So you plug in your A, and I'm not going to do that because to get through most of it, that's enough. That's all you needed was that side. But if you're in a conventional trig class, you need to find angle B now and also then C. Well, don't use law of cosine again. Use the law of sine, because now you've got an angle and a side across from it. So I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to do that, but use law of sine from here on out because it's a lot easier. Law of cosine is kind of a tricky process. The other type of problem with law of cosine in this, so if you have a triangle and you know the lengths of all three of your sides, you can find the angles. And to do that, you need law of cosine. And so it doesn't matter how you label it. We're just going to label it ABC like this. And so just remember that the side opposite the angle, so this would be 19 for A. Little a goes across from big A. Little b is across from big B, so B is 24.3. And little c is across from big C, so this is 21.8. So when you're doing these, and I'm only going to show you how to find one of the angles. We'll just stick to the law of cosine here. And so we always find the biggest angle first. On some of your other platforms, it doesn't matter. Whatever they have you find, you just find it, and it's generally the correct answer. But here, you always want to find the biggest one first, because we don't know whether angle B here is an obtuse or an acute angle. So angle B is across from the biggest side, so this is your biggest angle. So we want to go in there and make sure that it's not acute or obtuse. And law of cosine can tell you that as long as you pick the biggest one first. Okay, so I'm going to come off of there a little bit. And again, since we're finding angle B, we're going to use this form of the equation. Again, you don't necessarily need this if you understand that it's side angle side, but here it is again. So b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. And you just fill in everything that you have. Well, in this case, we have b, so this would be 24.3 squared equals a squared is 19 plus c squared is 21.8 minus 2 times 19 times 21.8 cosine of b. We don't have the angle, and that's what we're going to have to solve for. So I'm going to go in. We're going to do this one a little different because we're going to find everything. Because here we have to solve for this cosine of b. And if you just blindly add all this stuff together, you will get it wrong. Because you can't do that. And I'll explain why here in a second. But let's find them for the most part. So 20, I'm not going to plug this into Desmos just yet, but 24.3 is 590 0.49. 19 squared is 361. 21.8 squared is 479.61. Minus 2 times 19 times 21.8 is 828.4. And then it's times cosine of b. All right, so you can add these two, but you can't add this because it's times that cosine of b. So it's like saying, 2 plus 3x. If you had 2 plus 3x, can you add those together? And most of you have known since you're fourth graders that you cannot add those together. So it's the same here, even though it's more complicated numbers. You can only add the first two. So we'll add these two together just to kind of simplify things. So we got 590.49 equals 361 plus 479.61. And just give me 1 second to make sure that's right. Add those together, you should get 840.61 minus the 828.4 cosine of b. And so here we're solving for x, but it's really cosine of b. And I'm going to extend this page a little bit so we get some more room. We're about done. So the next thing you have to do then is subtract the 840.61. Again, you cannot combine those two because we got to solve for cosine b. So minus 840.61. And you subtract those and you get negative 250.12 equals negative 828.4 cosine of b. And again, we're solving for cosine of b, so we're going to divide by negative 828.4. Negative 828, and that's the important part right there, is you divided by this negative. So we got a negative divided by a negative over here, which becomes positive. If that had stayed negative, we'd have a obtuse angle, but it is an acute triangle. So we've got cosine b equals 250.12 divided by 828.4. And again, I'm holding off plugging that in and dividing them because I want to just plug all this in one step into a calculator so I don't mess up the decimals. And so we'll just plug that in, and we're looking for an angle. So remember, that's inverse cosine, and you just plug in that division problem. So it would be without just let the calculator do its work. So 250.12 divided by 828.4. And there is my angle. So it's 72.42. And there you have it. That was angle B. That's your biggest angle. So I'm going to stop there because from there, to find the rest of the angles, you'd use law of sine, and then you just add them and subtract from 180. So if you're not sure on the law of sine video, go back to law of sine. Only use law of cosine one time if you have to solve more than one thing in the triangle. Hope this helps. See you next time.